How has it been going with AMD? It's been a few months now, and I've been rocking the AMD RX 6750 XT graphics card. And how's it been going? Well, performance is good. Performance is really good. When it works, the graphics card works great. Does it work all the time? No. Is this graphics card for somebody who doesn't want to tinker with their PC? I don't think so. Was NVIDIA better when I had an NVIDIA card? I think so. I had far fewer problems with my graphics when I had a GTX 1660. Far fewer. Was their software old and kind of ugly? Yeah. Did it work? Also, yeah. I loved my GTX 1660 while I had it. It worked pretty much all the time, flawlessly. Almost no hiccups. The performance was steady, regular. Nothing I did really changed any of it. It didn't require any tinkering. The AMD card, on the other hand, has been great performance-wise. Definitely a lot better than the 1660. But the amount of time that I've spent tinkering with it has been matched by no other device I've ever had to deal with. You know, it kind of makes me appreciate the Steam Deck. If you want to use it like a console, it's going to work like a console. I have 2 games on there, Garden Warfare 2 and Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2. And those are the only 2 games that I've needed to go into desktop mode for, because they have like the EA app that they have to go through. But other than that, gaming on the Steam Deck has been pretty flawless. I'm kind of getting to the point where I would recommend a Steam Deck over a PC to somebody that just wants to play PC games. The way that you interact with it is so much more simple than the way you have to interact with a PC. Let me kind of go into some examples about what I've had to deal with on the AMD graphics card. Their software, it's streamlined. It looks good. It works well when it works. It's kind of like the graphics card. It works well. Overall, works well. And it allows you to make changes if you want to make changes. I would kind of describe it as the Android of the PC world. For example, like Apple, with Apple iPhones, you don't get any control, really. You have your settings, sure, but you don't really get any control. And you don't really need the control. You kind of get a streamlined out-of-the-box experience. With Android, you get all the controls. You can do pretty much anything with it, but oftentimes the experience is not as smooth out of the box. So that's AMD, I would say. AMD is less smooth out of the box. Their software is not as reliable as NVIDIA's software was, and you're going to have to tinker with it to get it the way you want. With NVIDIA, it's like Apple. You kind of just use it the way it comes out of the box. That's it. You don't tinker with it that much. You don't need to. With AMD, you need to tinker with it. With NVIDIA, not so much. You don't need to. You can, if you're professional at messing with them, but you don't need to. So what problems have I been having with the card? Well, they're all driver issues. Of course. This is a 6750. It's not like a 7750. It's not brand new. This is like from a year or 2 ago, this card. Both NVIDIA and AMD release graphics drivers frequently, so you would expect there to be some performance losses or, some bugs or errors here and there. It's been such a pain, really, with this card. So their software has died on me, I believe, twice. It, it won't launch sometimes. It doesn't do what I want it to. It won't remember the settings that I've set for the graphics card. So I've had to re-download the software a couple times, which has been a pain. And the game ready drivers haven't been compatible with every game that I've played. In one case, I had to download the professional drivers for like creators off of their website. So I downloaded their Pro Edition software, not their Adrenaline Edition. And this was after I had the Adrenaline Edition software already installed. Like, okay, just to preface, I wouldn't have to go through any of this if their game ready drivers just work with every game. I had to figure out that it was the game ready drivers that were causing the problem. I had to go through like a Reddit forum. I scoured the internet for answers. Like it was, I think it said like the game said it was having like DirectX issues. So their drivers are not flawless. It's such a pain to have to scour the internet for something so basic as game drivers, like graphics drivers. So I downloaded their Pro Edition software, and it was working for a while, and it worked with the game. Fortunately, the game worked, and I was happy about that. That was, after you search for a solution for an hour or two, you're happy when it finally ends up working. But after a while, so this was like a few days ago, I had like a hard crash, basically. Like a hard crash. Like the driver's software wasn't working at all. It was like it wasn't installed, basically. So I had to restart my computer a few times before I could get it working. Like, before I could even get something up on the screen. It was ridiculous. And then when I finally got something on the screen, the software wasn't there at all, basically. It was like I could click on it and it wouldn't do anything. I went to download their Adrenaline Edition software. I downloaded it. And it said it wasn't compatible with my current drivers because I had the Pro Edition drivers installed. So I had to go through their website and like download it the old way, where you go through and you put in your graphics card and manually do all that stuff and get the drivers that way. Such a pain. So I downloaded the drivers, restarted my PC because you have to restart your PC every time you download drivers with AMD. And then after I had that done, I was able to install the Adrenaline Edition software, and it worked for a little bit, and then it stopped working again. So I had to completely nuke all of the software and re-download it again. And now it finally works. But it put me on some preset. So this is like moving on to the next problem now. It put me on some preset that had RSR enabled. And for the record, it completely nuked all of my settings that I had set before. So I had to go back through all my AMD software and redo everything. And I had to do that every time I reinstalled the software. Like, for some reason, out of the box, AMD doesn't allow their fans to go up to 100% speed. And I'm sure it's for, like, longevity of the fans or something, but it doesn't keep the graphics card cool enough in my experience. And I have 5 case fans in a reasonably sized case. So it's not like there's not enough airflow in my case. There's plenty of airflow. And then the front's all mesh anyway, so like the graphics card's not keeping cool enough without 100% fan speed, which is kind of ridiculous. Like, I never had trouble with my NVIDIA card being hot, even if I didn't dust it or anything. Never had trouble. So it runs hot, and now that I've got it under 100% fan speed, it only gets up to like 72 degrees Celsius, which is fine. It was getting up to like 80, 85, which is too hot. It nuked all my settings, put me on a profile that had RSR enabled. It's like Radeon Super Resolution, which is basically like upscaling, I think, but it's like hardware on the hardware side or something. I don't know. It's not like normal upscaling, not like FSR or something. And I thought, oh, that's fine. So I went through and I played games for a little while like that. But I was noticing some like frame drops, some inconsistencies, and eventually I figured out that it was RSR that was causing the problem. It was causing, like, if I turned around in a game, it would like tank the frames and then bring them back up, which was super annoying. Like, not smooth. It's not smooth. I want my gaming to be smooth. That's why I got the good graphics card. So I turned off RSR and now it's working. So RSR is not working right now in my experience. So if you have RSR on and you're experiencing issues, turn it off. Like, if they have a feature in their software, you'd kind of expect it to work, you know. But those are the biggest issues I've had with it so far. Here and there, I've had some weird dropout issues. My PC, I built it not that long ago, and I have a EVGA 750 watt power supply too, and I think that's causing some issues too. It's sometimes I'll turn on my PC, I'll press the power, and it'll start, and it'll get ready to go, and then it'll shut off, like it fails. Like there's too much power being drawn from it, and it's like the overcurrent protection is going off for some reason. And the components I have in this thing are nowhere near, like I looked up the requirements of the parts that I have in here, and it's like less than 700 watts, and mine's 750. I think it might have been closer to 650 maybe. Anyway, back to the graphics card. AMD is kind of being a pain. Like the graphics card's being a pain. The software's being a pain. A little disheartening, I would say. They just don't have the software side of things nailed down yet. They have the hardware. The hardware works when it works great. But the software is not up to par with the hardware, I would say. NVIDIA, I never had any issues like this, and I'm sure some people have had issues with their NVIDIA cards. Like my cousin, he's been dealing with stuttering on his 2070, and he's thinking of upgrading to an AMD card. If you're thinking of getting an AMD, I would caution you if you're short on time, because you're probably going to end up doing a lot of troubleshooting. It's a lot of work. For me, NVIDIA is not an option because they're so expensive. The performance for the dollar is not that good, especially right now. They're not competitive at all. And it didn't make sense for me to buy an NVIDIA card. Also, I don't agree with their practices as of late, so that also made it so it wasn't an option. But yeah, if you're a person who's short on time, maybe an AMD is not for you. NVIDIA's just got their software down. They've got the hardware is good, obviously. That's why most people buy NVIDIA, but yeah, that's how it's been going with the AMD graphics card right now. Honestly, with all the troubleshooting I've had to do on this PC since the beginning, I've had trouble with this thing since the beginning. And I have AMD CPU and GPU now. It's been a lot of work, a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of time that I could have spent playing games has been spent troubleshooting. And it's fine with me because I kind of like going through and figuring out what's wrong, and I like problem solving. So it's not that big of a deal for me, and it's not like I'm short on time right now. obviously have time to record this video, so I'm not short enough on time for where it's a big issue. So AMD overall, I would say great performance per dollar. It works great when it works, but when it doesn't work, it's kind of a pain. And the truth is, not that many people have AMD cards. So when you go to look something up, like when you're having an issue and you go to look something up, the answers to your questions are pretty few and far between. Um, like on normal PC parts, you can have an issue and have a hard time finding it, but like no one has a 6750 XT. Nobody. They're they're not that common, not that popular. You kind of chart your own course with this sort of thing. As for like I was considering Intel too when I was thinking about buying a graphics card, but I can't imagine. Like that must be even more. It's completely uncharted territory. So it must be even more difficult to deal with those cards. So I would say AMD is kind of it's still in the enthusiast space. Like we're getting there, but unless you're willing to spend time troubleshooting, you're going to want to go Nvidia, even though it's more expensive. You might end up saving more in time not wasted than you would end up spending on the card anyway. But with PCs are kind of like losing traction right now. I would say Steam Deck is still a hard. It's kind of so Steam Deck is. I'm gonna go over this a little bit more in another video, I think, but it's gonna work like a console if you choose to use it as a console. The community, the Steam Deck community is pretty supportive. A lot of people are buying them, and if you're having an issue, chances are somebody else has it, or has had it already, and has figured out a solution to it. If you want to use the Steam Deck like a desktop, you can. I have used the Steam Deck as a desktop, and to be honest, it's pretty bad. Like web surfing, like even if you have it plugged into a monitor, is not great. Playing games on a bigger screen with the Steam Deck, especially more demanding games, looks bad. You know, the games look good on the 800p screen, but as soon as you go to like 1080p on a bigger screen, it looks bad. I would say if you want something that's like a console, you don't want to deal with a PC, Steam Deck is the best way to play PC games right now without having to troubleshoot a lot. Now, there are still games that are not compatible with Steam Deck, like Call of Duty and other games. Like, not everything's going to work on there, but it's a good way to get through your Steam library and kind of enjoy seamlessness. So that's my my update on AMD and the graphics card. I don't regret my purchase. It's just been a lot more work than I thought it would be to maintain any standard of the card working as it should. It's been a couple months now, I think, or maybe I don't even know how long it's been, but it's been a lot of issues for the amount of time I've had it. And I hope it gets better, but we'll have to see. That's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.